Most people who watch Peaky Blinders remember Arthur Shelby as the violent one, the one who goes too far, the one who loses control, the one who smashes things, breaks people, and then has to be pulled back from the edge by whoever is nearby. And on the surface, that is accurate. Arthur Shelby is violent. He does lose control. There are scenes in this show that are genuinely hard to watch, not because of what someone does to Arthur, but because of what Arthur does to himself. But here is what most people miss entirely. Arthur Shelby is not just a violent man. He is a man at war with himself. And that war, that specific, internal, relentless war, is something that millions of people fight every single day. Not with their fists, not in the streets of Birmingham, but in their own heads, in the mirror, in the quiet moments before sleep, when the voice inside tells you that you are not good enough, not worthy enough, not fixable enough. Self-hatred is one of the most common and least talked about struggles a person can carry, and Arthur Shelby carries it louder than almost anyone in television history. So today, we are not here to celebrate Arthur. We are here to learn from him, to look at his journey, the breakdowns, the violence, the attempts at redemption, and find the lessons that can actually help you if you are fighting a similar war inside yourself. Let's get into it. Section 1. The root of Arthur's self-hatred. To understand why Arthur hates himself, you have to go back to the beginning. Arthur Shelby Sr. abandoned his family. He left when his children needed him most, and the impact of that abandonment shaped every single one of those kids. But it hit Arthur the hardest, because Arthur was the eldest. He was supposed to be the man of the family after his father left, and in his own eyes, he failed that role. He was not smart enough, not strategic enough, not calm enough. Tommy always seemed to have the answers. Arthur always seemed to be the problem. That comparison, living in the shadow of a younger brother who appears more capable, more controlled, more respected, is something that quietly ate Arthur alive for years. But here is the crucial insight. Arthur did not choose to feel this way. He was taught to feel this way. His father's abandonment told him, without words, you are not worth staying for. His role in the family told him, you are the muscle, not the mind. The enforcer, not the thinker. The war told him, you are capable of terrible things, and those things define you. Layer by layer, Arthur Shelby built a self-image that was essentially, I am broken, I am dangerous, I am less than. And once that self-image is set, it becomes a lens through which everything is filtered. Every mistake confirms it. Every moment of anger confirms it. Every failure confirms it. This is how self-hatred works in real life too. It is not random. It has roots. And understanding those roots is the first step toward loosening their grip. You did not wake up one day and decide to hate yourself. Something or someone taught you to. And that means it can be unlearned. It is slow and it is hard. And it rarely looks clean, but it can be done. Optimal. Section 2. What self-hatred actually looks like. People assume self-hatred looks like someone sitting in a corner crying, and sometimes it does. But Arthur Shelby shows us a different face of self-hatred, one that is far more common and far harder to recognize. Arthur's self-hatred looks like rage. It looks like drinking until he cannot feel anything. It looks like picking fights he does not need to pick. It looks like sabotaging things that are going well, because deep down, he does not believe he deserves for things to go well. Think about the moments in the show where Arthur finally has something good, a sense of purpose, a relationship, a reason to stay clean, and then watch what he does with it. He finds a way to destroy it, or he waits for it to be taken from him, because on some level, he expected it to be. Self-sabotage is self-hatred in disguise. When you repeatedly push away people who care about you, that is self-hatred. When you drink, or use, or stay up until 3 a.m., consuming things that make you feel worse, that is self-hatred. When you dismiss every compliment, reject every opportunity, and walk away from things that could actually help you, that is self-hatred. It does not always look like someone saying, I hate myself. Most of the time it looks like behavior, patterns, Choices that seem random from the outside, but make perfect sense when you understand what is driving them underneath. Arthur is one of the most honest portrayals of this in any piece of fiction I have seen, because the writers did not clean it up. They showed the mess. They showed what self-destruction actually looks like from the inside out. And if any of those patterns sound familiar to you, if you recognize yourself in what I just described, that recognition is not something to feel shame about. It is information. It is the beginning of understanding yourself more clearly. Section 3. The moment Arthur tries to choose differently. Here is where Arthur's story becomes genuinely remarkable. In the middle of all the violence and the drinking and the self-destruction, Arthur tries. He finds Linda. He finds faith. He finds, for a brief period, something that feels like peace. He gets clean. He goes to church. He becomes, by any reasonable measure, a different person. And the show is honest about this. It is not perfect. It does not last in the way Arthur hopes. The world he lives in does not make sobriety and peace easy to maintain. But the attempt is what matters here. Because Arthur Shelby, a man who has every reason to believe he is beyond saving, still reaches for something better. That reaching is everything. There is a lie that self-hatred tells you, and it is one of the most dangerous lies in existence. You are too far gone. You have done too much damage to yourself and to others to deserve anything good now. Arthur's attempt at redemption is the direct answer to that lie. You are not too far gone. The fact that you are still here, still thinking, still feeling, still asking questions, means the reaching is still possible. It means the door is not closed. Arthur does not become a saint. His redemption is messy and incomplete and interrupted by circumstances outside his control. But he takes the step, and then he takes it again. And that repeated choosing, even when it does not hold, is what a real person's recovery actually looks like. Not a single dramatic transformation, not a clean before and after, just a person choosing differently as many times as they can manage. The cost of never asking for help. Now here is where we have to be honest about where Arthur's approach fails him, and where it might be failing you too. Arthur Shelby almost never asks for help. Not real help. Not the kind that requires vulnerability. He leans on Tommy, but that relationship is about loyalty and protection. Not about Arthur actually opening up about what is going on inside his head. He finds Linda, but he cannot fully let her in either. The men in this world, the Shelby men in particular, operate under a code that says suffering must be carried alone, that asking for help is weakness, that you deal with your pain by pushing through it, drowning it, or taking it out on something else. And that code nearly kills Arthur several times. Carrying everything alone is not strength. It is just a slower way of breaking. There is a scene, and anyone who has watched the show knows there are several like it, where Arthur is clearly on the edge, where he's minutes away from doing something irreversible. And he is alone, because he will not let anyone in far enough to actually help him. The isolation is not protecting him. It is feeding the self-hatred, because self-hatred grows in silence. It needs darkness and isolation to thrive. The moment you bring it into the light, the moment you say it out loud to another person, it loses some of its power. Not all of it, but some. Arthur never fully learns this lesson, and it costs him enormously. If you are carrying something similar, if the voice in your head has been going unchallenged for a long time, the single most important thing I can tell you is let someone in, a friend, a professional, anyone who can hear the thing you have been carrying alone. You do not have to be Arthur Shelby. You do not have to suffer in silence, because that is what the people around you do. What Arthur teaches us about forgiving yourself, the deepest lesson from Arthur Shelby, is not about violence or redemption or even survival. It is about forgiveness. Arthur cannot forgive himself. That is, ultimately, the core of his tragedy. He can be forgiven by others, and people do forgive him, repeatedly, because they see something in him worth forgiving. But he cannot receive that forgiveness. He cannot hold it. It slides off him, because he does not believe he deserves it. And here is the brutal truth. No amount of external forgiveness will fix internal self-hatred. People can tell you that you are worthy. They can love you, support you, forgive you 100 times. And if you have not done the work of forgiving yourself, or at least beginning that work, none of it lands the way it should. Self-forgiveness is not about pretending the things you have done did not happen. Arthur did real damage to real people. Pretending otherwise would be dishonest. Self-forgiveness is about deciding that your past actions do not have permanent veto power over your future self. It is saying, I did that. It was wrong. I carry that. And I am also still a person who is capable of growth, of change, of meaning something to someone. Both things can be true at once. Arthur Shelby holds onto his past like a chain. And watching him carry that chain, watching it drag him back every time he tries to move forward, is one of the most painful things about his character. You do not have to carry the chain that way. Arthur Shelby is not a success story in the traditional sense. He does not arrive at peace. He does not fully heal. The show does not give him a clean ending where all the self-hatred is resolved, and he finally becomes the man he wanted to be. But his story is still one of the most valuable in the entire series because it is honest. It shows what self-hatred actually looks like. It shows how it starts, how it spreads, and how it shapes every decision a person makes. And it shows, through Arthur's repeated attempts to reach for something better, that the desire to change is real, even when the change itself is incomplete. If you hate yourself right now, I am not going to tell you it is simple to stop. Arthur's story alone should make it clear that it is not. But I will tell you this. The fact that you hate yourself means you still have a standard. You still believe in something better. You still have a version of yourself that you are measuring against. That is not hopelessness. That is the seed of something. Arthur Shelby kept reaching, even when he could not hold what he reached for. Keep reaching.